Yay. So, good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Betty. Good evening, Betty.
Back again on Zoom, back from Hamburg this time. Thank you for being here.
Good to be with you again.
Yes, very good. So today I would like to talk with you about what I have been seeing around, and we've been talking around that there's so many emotions coming up. Your trainers in their workshops are commenting as well that so much deep, dark, old emotions are coming up. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, I find that I don't know if there is a connection, what you said as well, with the weather. There has been a thunderstorm and a hurricane actually here in Austria, extreme heat in Europe, no water, tsunamis and stuff like that, kind of the global warming, of course, as well. If there's a connection and what this is all about and how to go through those emotions.
Yeah, weather is an attempt by the earth to balance itself off, just like our emotions are an attempt to balance ourselves off. So the weather is a collective reflection of our consciousness. So it's like all of our minds, we're not aware of this. It's a very deep level. It's the collective unconscious below the subconscious, which is everything from conception to the present that we've hidden away, and the unconscious, which is our soul pattern. But the collective unconscious is all the things of the earth that haven't been yet healed. Mm-hmm. All the wars, all the murders, all the rapes, all the attacks, all of those things are coming up now. And actually, if you look at it in a true way, it's an opportunity to do a lot of healing. If you look at it in a wrong way, you'll feel attacked, you'll feel put upon, you'll feel overwhelmed, you'll feel burdened, stressed out, helpless, all these things. But that just adds to the collective emotion that's going on in the world. So actually, what I found is that our emotions, our minds are tied to all minds. Our mind, it's the old saying, the microcosm and the macrocosm are tied together. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm. Mm-hmm. It's like the wings of the butterfly in the Amazon brings the hurricane, in the Atlantic. So it's like there's a lot that we can do to make the world a better place. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, it just looks so hopeless. But you could just reflect, just take a quiet moment. And even in the midst of all the things going on, all the busyness and all the things you're trying to handle, you can be centered, you can be quiet just by asking for it, just by choosing it, so that the turmoil is going on, but you're still in your center. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. So let's... Betty, how much stress have you been in? What percentage?
80% comes up.
80%. And that's a common number these days. I just heard yesterday 70, 80 in one session. I heard 70, 80, and 90. Mm-hmm. The people present. So that's a lot of stress. And it's all a distraction from the peace that's inside you. Mm-hmm. So peace is beautiful in that it brings about abundance. It brings about health. Every place you're ill, you're not in health. You're not in peace. So it's like it brings love. It brings joy. So peace is not just this wimpy little thing. It's this thing that heals everything. It's one of the great healing principles. Mm-hmm. And, when I was a young man, I was Mr. Stimulation. Just wanted lots of activity, lots of things to do, lots of girlfriends, lots of excitement, lots of dating, lots of, and it was a great adventure. but there was so much that was waiting to be dealt with. So when I got married, it's like things settled down, and my wife, helped me deal with things I didn't want to deal with. What are wives for, right? It's like, so on one hand, there's all these emotions. On the other hand, there's all this dissociation. And usually we polarize with our partner. One person's more independent and dissociated. One partner is more feeling all the feelings for both partners. And if the dissociated ones doesn't realize that the dependent one is feeling all the emotions for both of them, then they tend to just get more independent rather than move toward them with compassion. But it's that joining, realizing that they're doing really important part, because they're, with all those painful emotions there, but for the grace of God, go I. So let me help them so I don't have to be down there, in the trenches also. So anyhow, emotions. It's so important, emotions. I've written a number of books on emotional maturity, and you think, well, it's an adult subject, but it's not. The more emotionally mature you are, the better partner you are. The more you start taking out your past on your partner. So this was a mind-blowing thing that I discovered, that our emotions are actually from the past. No, it looks like, he's doing that and that hurt me, or she's doing that and it made me feel attacked. But no, your emotions are coming from the past. They get triggered in the present. There's a line in the Course in Miracles about every little irritation or annoyance. If you actually dwell on it, feel it, and follow it down, you will go down to places of anger, rage, and even fury that are buried inside and that are just eating you alive, but they're compensated for. Most illnesses, you don't realize, are the result of all these negative emotions. We think it's some outside thing that made us sick. But what I found working in the subconscious for all these years, 50 of my 52 years, is that it's all about emotions. Heal the emotions, heal the relationships where these emotions came from. And all of a sudden there's peace and there's healing, and sometimes miraculously so. So there's therapeutic healing, and there is also spiritual healing. Because heaven's plan is not that we suffer in any way. Our ego's plan is that we want to make a name for ourselves, even if it's dark glamour, and guilt. Okay, let's start with guilt. Guilt leads to a belief in sin. And these are two of the most destructive illusions in the world. Yes, people feel guilt. People feel like they are sinners. Okay, but I've worked with people who've done terrible things to other people, molested children, physically tortured other people, murdered other people. And if you don't heal that, what happens is they either go toward death in suicide, or they go to murder some more to get rid of this stress and pain. And of course, it just adds to stress and pain until you're psychotic. And it's because you can't deal with all this guilt. So mostly what we do is we have this guilt, so we judge, or we have a grievance. We have something where we blame somebody because not my fault. I was the good one. They did that to me. Basically, every victim story is, I am the way I am in my life because of what those people did to me, those ex-partners, my parents, and so, but it was all an excuse not to live our purpose, not to be ourselves, not to embrace the gifts. Now, why wouldn't we want gifts? Everybody wants gifts, except you'd have to give up control. You'd have to give up my way. Betty, how much of your stress has to do with trying to make things your way?
80% as well.
You think there might be a, connection there? So what if, there's a metaphor in A Course in Miracles about God's altar, which I affectionately call God's barbecue. Because if he didn't create it, and he didn't create any of these negative emotions, his will is not for you to suffer, but for you to be happy. And he's given all kinds of ways. He's given the Holy Spirit, he's given Christ and Mother Mary, in the East, it's Kuan Yin and Buddha, and they're all there to help us. They're our older brothers and sisters, and they've reached oneness. And they are, it's like you just love it when you can help somebody and lift them up, because it's like their oneness becomes more complete as we become aware of it. So here's the thing. If God didn't create it, does it really exist? Or is it just another illusion we made to separate? The whole purpose of judgment and grievance and guilt is to keep separation between us. Betty, how much do you believe you're a bad girl?
80%.
80%. So if you're a bad girl, do you deserve true love?
No.
What do you deserve?
Desert.
Desert. Have you been in a desert lately? Now, I'm doing marketing for you here, because a lot of men out there love bad girls. So trying to help out here. Okay, but it's like you can have this guilt and you'll always punish yourself. So your blame, your grievances, your attack, it just hides your self-attack. And so it's realizing this connection. And what does that do to the earth?
Yeah, nothing good.
Nothing good. And our mind is connected to all minds. That's what I found working in the unconscious. So, Betty, one of the metaphors, they talk about the
Chuck,
altar of God, where you can put it. Yes?
I couldn't hear your microphone. Your voice was off. Sorry.
So when I work in Japan or with Japanese people, I talk about not God's altar, but God's hibachi. So you put the things that where you're suffering on God's altar. So, Betty, what does your ego believe about you being a bad girl?
Yippee!
What does your higher mind believe about you being a bad girl?
Laughing. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So can you just throw it on, God's barbecue, God's altar, It could be as simple as that. Unless you're holding on to the emotion with an attachment, with some kind of agenda. Because people use emotion. If you're not using it for healing, you're using it for attack. Now, all attack, when someone attacks you, and it's a leadership lesson, it's a call for help. Can you think of someone who recently attacked you?
Yes, my ex-boyfriend.
Your ex-boyfriend, yes. And notice that underneath the attack was he had something, he thought you had something that he didn't have, and you're not giving it to him, which is where a great deal of attack comes from. Most attack comes from. Okay, but what if you see his emotion and his attack as a call for help.
Yes.
How old is the wounded self inside him calling for help, but using attack to get your attention?
1.
1 year old. How many wounded 1 year old are there?
100.
So it looks like a job for you and the angels, because you love babies. Come on, you just love babies. That'll go, you know. So it's like love, you know, you and 1,000 angels can go completely love those 100 1-year-olds, and they will start growing up. And they'll grow up to your ex's present age, and they'll melt into him, making him more whole, you know, reconnecting wires in his heart, his mind, and his body.
He's more manly now.
Yeah, that's the feeling. He's more of an equal. So that's one thing that can really help us move through our emotions. And see, an emotion, again, if it's not used for healing, if you don't commit, oh wow, like I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed at my sister. Okay, but you follow the annoyance down, and it will take you to many deeper layers. It will take you to the past. It will take you to giant anchors that are holding your life back, like rage and fury. And so these are things that are just burning up your nerves. They're burning up your peace, and you're not aware of them because you're compensating. You're defending against them. You don't want to feel that shit.
Yeah.
You know, so you bury it. But this takes up a lot of energy, all those defenses. But another simple thing is you can choose it, or you can ask heaven to melt this defense, this compensation, and the pain underneath it in whatever form it takes, and melt it together into a level of wholeness. Okay, Betty, what's the emotion that has bugged you the most in your life?
Anger.
Anger. Now, there's an interesting thing about anger, because it's always a cover feeling, a defensive feeling. So what's the emotion that's been hiding under your anger?
Sadness.
Sadness. And Betty, what's been hiding under the sadness? What pops in?
Turmoil comes up.
Turmoil, yeah.
Turmoil.
Yeah, chaos, turmoil. Great, you're doing great. So what's hiding under the turmoil?
Rage.
Rage. I'm a tiger, I'm gonna bite you. Okay, so first of all, how old is that rageful self?
1.
1 year old. And how many 1 year old do you have like that?
300.
So what effect do you I mean, that's really attractive to getting a true partner. Come here. I have rage, you know, and basically, you know, you're going to need a partner who's going to be a lion tamer. You know. So, but see, 1 is where we learn our sense of identity. And all this rage, these 300 rages, are like fractures in your mind. And 1 is like the pillar, the pillar that's holding up the building of your life. Now, beside the rage, there may be other emotions at 1. But how many cracks are there in that pillar holding up the building of your life?
3,000.
3,000 fractures. Heilige Scheiße.
Yeah, really.
So now, let's call him Mother Mary. Let's call her in to bring bonding and wholeness and peace, so that all of these 3,000 selves, not just the 300 from the rage, but 3,000 selves, those fractures, because those are conflicts. And those are, you've forgotten about this. You were one. So you were a baby. Let it all come together in wholeness. However many levels these emotions go down. Because at 1 year old, you're actually bringing in stuff out of the unconscious, from ancestors, from past lives. And that can be healed also. So as she brings them all out and loves them all with her angels, so that, she has an army of angels. So all 3,000, they get love. And those babies start growing up to bigger babies. And it goes all the way up until it'll reach your present age, and it'll reconnect wires in your heart. You don't have to hide that stuff anymore. Your mind and your body. So it just will save you lots of health issues later. In working so many years since the late 70s with people with catastrophic illness, it was mind-blowing to me to find out the dynamics going on under catastrophic illness. And I found that it was an emotional issue. There's emotions that haven't been healed. There's relationship issues that haven't been healed. And once they're healed, then things get better. So how's it feel at one now?
A bit dizziness is coming up now. It's like, woo.
Yeah. So, and a new partner might like a dizzy blonde. I don't know. Maybe. Anyhow, you can ask Mother Mary to bring in holy family bonding to your whole family at one. So, and that bonding brings love and success with ease. And it's just a natural connection. Yeah, we're partners here. We're partners for life. Let's see what we can learn and heal together. And let's see if we can get to a place where we have a common purpose as a family. That's really big. That's really big. When your family has reached that place, you've reached full-blown mastery.
Wow.
So you don't dissociate them because you burned out carrying too much sacrifice, and then you burn out and become independent, or you don't become sacrificial and dependent your whole life, giving up your life, jumping in the pit with your family to help them. But that doesn't really help.
Yeah.
So, Betty, how much do you are you attacking yourself now? Feel like you're evil, an evil jungle princess? Because in the unconscious, this is such a common belief that people believe they're evil. On the surface, people are sweet, nice, good. Butter wouldn't melt in my mouth. I'm so sweet. But underneath that, there is all these other feelings about hurt, anger, rage, things like this. And you get into the unconscious, and there's all the things that we've done in past lives that we regret and trying not to be that way anymore. But sometimes we see people around us like we used to be. People, the world with our past. So in forgiving them, we're forgiving ourselves. Okay. So Betty, how much guilt do you feel now?
1%.
Do you want to throw that on the Barbie? God's Barbie? Yeah. How about sin? Any belief in sin? Any self-concepts that believe they're a sinner?
One comes up.
So you can throw those on God's altar. Did God create sin?
No.
Yeah.
And myself.
He's love. He's light. He's truth. He's oneness. So to create sin would be to create something unlike him. That's impossible. He would make you separate. God didn't make us separate. We're still in oneness, but we've had all these falls. And in each of these falls, we fractured. We created an identity for ourselves. But the thing is, the identity we created, even the positive ones many times, are built on pain. Basically, our identity is built on the bones of our child. And the thing that I found is that all emotions are a misinterpretation. They're a call for help. So, you ready to jump into the deep end? Betty, who do you feel wounded you the most?
Dad.
So your birthday is coming up in 2 days. Everybody send flowers. She loves flowers.
Okay. Marketing today.
Exactly. Happy birthday, dear one. Okay. So how old were you?
1 comes up.
1 year old. And what did he do or not do?
He wasn't present.
He wasn't present. So you've never not been present in your life. You've always been right there, fully present.
Totally, yeah. Always running away and hiding.
So your dad learned this from you, I think.
I think so.
So what were you feeling when you ran away?
When I ran away, overwhelming. I was overwhelmed. Couldn't handle the situation.
So you interpreted that your father didn't like you, didn't love you. Or do you think he was overwhelmed with a new baby, even one that cried a lot?
Yes. Yeah, he was very overwhelmed. Yeah.
He could feed you, he could change your diaper, and you're still crying. What's going on?
Such a needy baby.
But also babies who have colic or who can't be, many times they're just tuning in. They're super sensitive babies that are tuning into what's going on in society, which is so absolutely painful. So it's just understanding that helps a lot. But okay, let's go back. How many selves did you throw into hell because of your father's lack of presence?
100,000.
Wow. And what effect is that having in your life?
Not a good one. It
Not
has
a good one.
to do
Not a
with
good
presence as well. Yeah.
And if you believe that your father doesn't love you, then what man do you think will love you? Okay, your Uncle Monkey will, but it's okay.
It was a hard job for you. Yeah.
So no, it's not. But anyhow, it's like that was any pain is a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Did you feel he rejected you? Did you feel hurt? Okay, let's see this. Was he rejecting you, or was he just overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed. Mm.
And did you reject him?
Yes.
And as soon as we reject, we feel hurt, even to the extent where we can't accept something or someone, we feel heartbroken. But to learn to accept, as Mother Mary said, let it be. Let it be. And then you're not stuck in this terrible chaos, in this terrible turmoil and suffering. It's like you get to take the next step. And it may be just as much suffering, but you can keep accepting and moving forward. Okay, so let's get back here to this situation. Did you feel your father didn't want you?
Yeah, back then, yes,
Yeah.
have this information. So yes.
Yeah. So was it that he didn't want you or you didn't want him?
I didn't want him the way he
Uh,
behaved.
could you send me a better model? Because I don't want this one. I'm, do you know who I am? I'm privileged. I'm a baby. Come on. You got to love me. I'm the baby. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Like this, yes.
And the thing is, underneath this feeling of rejection, which we can reverse instantly by acceptance, and this feeling of being unwanted, it's like, in what I have found under every trauma, under every emotion, under is there is a gift that is waiting. Now, the hardest thing I had to get through was my feeling of being unwanted. After that, everybody was easy. And even the most terrible stories about trying to abort them, drinking lye, darning needles up the vagina, you know, it's like, and I made a bet with this one woman in Japan. I said, you know, whose mother tried to abort her. And it was during wartime. So it was like, and her father had been killed 2 months before. And so there were all these things, and she was in a war zone. And I said, I made her a bet that she would get through it in 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes, she was laughing her ass off. Because here was the final thing. I said, imagine it's like a baseball game. I said, what's your score and what's your mother's score? She goes, it's 100-1. I said, can you see that this fight began when you were in the womb? I said, can you see your mother's desperate situation? She thought, you're both going to die and you're both not going to survive. And that she was trying to she was desperate. Yeah. She was trying to save herself. So, you know, I took her back and had her bond with her mother, light to light, to give up this authority conflict, one of the great dynamics of any problem, of any emotion. So light to light, she bonded with her mother, and it was this beautiful thing. She was just happy. Tears were coming down her face. And I said, you know, all your life, you rejected your mother and you rejected her love. She said, my mother never said she loved me. She never called me. And so, but she was happy. She was peaceful. She felt like she'd healed this mistake. Now, 2 days after the workshop, we all got together again, hang out, see how everybody was doing. And she said, you wouldn't believe it. My mother called me all the way from Europe for the first time in my life. And for the first time in my life, she told me that she loved me. So it was just one of the things that touched us all. It inspired us all. You know, it's like, and that was back in 1988, 87.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like to heal these kinds of things. Betty, you know what gift hides under this belief that your father didn't want you? It's that you're irresistible. Wow. Did you embrace that gift? I'm lovable. Baby, gotta love me. Yeah, just okay. Now let's go a little deeper. I know you like it deeper, so let's go a little deeper. Yeah. So how many selves did you throw into hell at one?
300.
Yeah. About 9 years ago, I had someone come to me while I was doing a workshop at the castle in Germany. And it was somebody outside the workshop. And he came to me and he said, I have stage 4 cancer. The doctor said I'd be dead by today. He said, can you help me? So I just tuned in, and what I heard was to take him down to hell, to the collective hell. And he gathered, we went down there with Christ and Mother Mary and their angels, and they collected all of the selves that he had put in hell. And brought him back and integrated them into wholeness and peace. And so he left and he had this big smile on his face. And he called me the next week. He said, I just have to tell you, there's no sign of cancer in my body. It was like, really wasn't me, it was that guidance that came in, and okay, let me help him. Let me help him. So it's like there's a way, we get desperate, and people need each other. And you don't have to figure out what to do or to say, but if there's anything to do or to say, you'll get inspired. But you just go and you love. It's not on your shoulders to make them better or anything. You just love them. That's heaven's job. So 300 selves in hell, what effect does that had on you?
Hell life comes up.
A hell life. Have you had a hell life?
For my taste, maybe sometimes, yes.
The card of the day is the treasure ball, which in Asia is equivalent to, in the West, what we would call a treasure chest. So today is all about a treasure chest. That's the Tao. That's the flow. And the ego can sometimes attack you on days like this so that you're unaware that there's a treasure ball around. Mm-hmm. So don't get caught. Realize, oh yeah, I'm not going to get caught with this. I know that rings a bell. I know there's a better way. I know there's a gift here. A treasure chest, a treasure ball. Yeehaw. So, and that's the thing, under every problem, under every emotion, and every problem has emotions under it. And the bottom line emotion, by the way, is fear. Okay, well, authority conflict too. But even guilt is used to hide our fear of going forward. Guilt is like super glue. When you have it, you get stuck, you punish yourself, you build a monument to a mistake that just could have been corrected. Mm-hmm. So the super glue, we're stuck here beating ourselves up. Like that's going to change anything. And underneath the fear, and underneath our most chronic problems, there's a fear of change. We're being asked to change. We're being asked to learn something new, because that opens your mind, makes you younger, things like this. Meanwhile, back into hell.
Yeah.
So Betty, you were meant to be the poster girl for a happy life. Your birthday is coming up. It's meant to be a whole new chapter, a whole new beginning. We have come to save our family, but it's the biggest conspiracy there is. People go into sacrifice, they burn out and become very independent. I know you never did that, but I just mentioned it. But underneath it is all this pain. And it's so hard then to get to real partnership with the partner we already have, or even having a partner. So let's go back here to hell. How many hills was your father in when you were one?
5,000.
5,000. So you're going to condemn him for that? He's further down in hell than you are. You're just going to take grenades and throw them down, Or are you going to realize this is why he was acting the way he did? People act because of the way they feel. And if it's not love, if it's not helpful, it's a call for love. So the question is, are you going to help him or throw yourself into hell?
Gonna help him, of course.
Okay. So why didn't you ask Mother Mary and Jesus and all their angels? That's too many angels, but ask just their small army of angels to go down to hell to lift you up and purify you. Those 300 selves, to lift your father up, his 5,000 selves, and purify them. And then the angels can unfurl them in their wings with divine love and love all of your 300 babies and all of your father's selves from all these different ages. Until they grow up and reconnect the wires in your heart, your mind, and your body. If you have trouble with your father, you're going to have trouble with men. I know you've never had trouble with men, but I'm just mentioning this, It's like, this is time for your new chapter. It's about a new chapter with true love. And it starts by helping your father and your brother and your exes, because there's ways to do that. I know it seems impossible, but you could forgive them. Or let's say this. Let's take your brother.
Yes.
How many places have you not forgiven him?
20.
And how much has he suffered because of your not forgiving him?
100%.
Mm-hmm. Now, you want to get through this real quick?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do this. Betty, would you forgive yourself? Because if you forgive yourself, you're gonna look out and see your brother as innocent.
Very touching. Yes.
How does that feel?
It's very touching, loving.
That's what I wrote, all these emotional principles in these books so that people could free themselves. But people go, oh, emotions, that's so boring. But that's the situation until you get a partner who's like, just. So now, Betty, do you want to do a big one for people out there?
Yes.
Okay, in La La Land. Okay, who do you feel has committed the most unforgivable sin against you in your life?
My dad again comes up.
Uh-huh. And what was it he did?
Again, rejecting me. We have gone through this. Another layer.
Mm-hmm. And what age is this from?
What did he? Sorry?
What age is this from?
3.
3. Who rejected whom?
I rejected him.
Yeah. It's impossible to feel hurt without you rejecting. Yeah. That's just the way it works. So, do you want to accept him?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, he's how many hills was he in at 3?
200. 200.
And that's a step up from what you did. Good work. Okay. So now, yeah. So how many times have you forgiven your father?
1. 1 time.
Only 1?
That can't be so many workshops.
Oh, 1 time, going in the right direction at least, because forgiveness heals illusions. And unforgiveness creates fear and pain and all kinds of illusions and problems. But here's a backdoor way of healing this unforgivable sin, because most people have forgiven many layers.
Mhm.
So what is the unforgivable sin you haven't forgiven yourself for, and you're using the blame to hide what you feel is your unforgivable sin?
Running away, not being present.
Oh, that old chestnut. So how are you feeling?
Yeah, overwhelmed again. Extremely overwhelmed.
Uh-huh. So, oh my goodness, you're feeling overwhelmed.
And not feeling not capable of handling the situation.
Who told you that? Your ego or your higher mind?
My ego.
What did your higher mind even say to that 3-year-old?
Just
Come on, use your words. What does your higher mind say?
can't believe it. Again, it's like, what am I doing? This is not.
Yeah. And now ask your higher mind, what do you think about this unforgivable sin that I feel I did? What do you think about that?
What unforgivable sin?
There you go.
Yeah.
So if you can forgive yourself or throw it on God's Barbie, because he loves to have gifts of illusions, to bring his children back up closer to heaven, closer to love and peace and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's terrible conflicts going on in the world. So now, if you're forgiving yourself, how's your father look to you at 3?
Extremely lovable.
Papa, ciao, Papa.
Yeah. Yeah, really, I can welcome him. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can go wrap yourself around his leg.
Yes. Yeah, it's sweet, very sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that light that comes inside you where there was darkness, where there was self-punishment.
Yeah, this is extreme.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay. So now here's another crazy thing. So it's like all of this. Now I know we've done this exercise before, but when you have a grievance with someone, you're judging them. You get to separate and make yourself independent, which the ego thinks it wants because it thinks that's happiness. We all did that. But then one of the hidden dynamics under separation is loneliness. And the ego says, no worries, I'll take care of that for you. You could fuse with your father. Now, fusion means you lose your boundaries and everything's muddled. And so you feel helpless to help them. And you feel all the feelings they feel. And it's so painful to feel all their feelings and all your feelings too. So you got to dissociate. You got to separate. So dissociation, that so-called dissociated independence, is just hiding lots of needs and pain and fear and guilt, none of which are true, mind you, but they hold you back. They keep you in conflict. Very independent on the surface, but underneath, I feel so scared. I feel so lonely. But fusion, the ego says, here, fuse with your papa. And then you lose boundaries. And then things, and when too much fusion gets in, rage builds up. And you become like two repelling magnets that can't get close. I know you've never felt that with any man, but just saying. Okay.
No.
So it's like, to heal fusion, back in the early 90s, in psychology, they were all talking about, oh yeah, set boundaries and things like that. That doesn't work. I mean, it works a little bit, but all this stuff is going on at subconscious levels. Boundaries won't help that. So if you will, give your father back the parts of him that are him. Welcome back the parts of you that are you. And ask the Holy Spirit to bring in the miracle between you.
Wow.
How's that feel? See, I can tell you with this pattern that you've had, this problem with the men in your life, is that underneath it all, you've come to redeem men. That's a gift you have inside, but you've been so frightened of it. Like, how am I going to refeed those donkuffs? They're so stubborn, they don't listen. But remember, and maybe this is a good place to end. There's a Hawaiian healing forgiveness exercise called Ho'oponopono, developed by Morna Simeona, and pass on to Dr. Hugh Lin, who was a psychiatrist and a kahuna. And it's this. And this recognizes the unconscious level, which everything is a mirror. All you're seeing are your self-concepts, are the results of your mind, which gives you access to healing the world by forgiving yourself. So it's, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Which is, I'm sorry for putting all this stuff on you, projecting all the distortions and mistakes in my mind on you. Please forgive me for doing that. Thank you for carrying this for me and letting me know that it was still inside me. I love you. We people the world with our past, even our ancient past. How many lifetimes, if you were to know, were you just like your papa? Overwhelmed, stressed out, not present.
300.
So you're going to condemn yourself for that? Or are you going to give yourself a birthday gift? And forgive yourself. You were doing the best you could. If you knew a better way, you would have done it. Yeah, we've all made mistakes, every one of us, but we can correct those mistakes. We don't have to feel bad about it. We can just get over ourselves. How's it feel to forgive yourself for 300 lifetimes? Oopsie, my bad.
Loving myself, really sweet. Free.
No, that's a great birthday gift. But guess what? It's like you could ask heaven for birthday gifts also. For divine, graceful birthday gifts. It's a big mirror. You know, I suggest to my trainers that every day they clean their mirrors.
Thank you so much, Chuck. This was spectacular, emotional, very emotional, actually.
We could take every emotion and show you, like, we think fear, those scary things are coming at me. No, they didn't start out there. They started inside us with grievances, judgments, and attack thoughts. And then we see the world attacking us. Yeah. And then we get scared. Yikes. Every emotion has that. So anyhow, it was all a mistake. Let's correct it and make the world a better place. Who could you forgive today? Who could you realize that's a misunderstanding? And guess what? You could heal the whole world by forgiving yourself, because they're acting out all your old stuff.
Sorry.
My bad. You know, just we have these huge collective conflicts that are making wars.
Yeah.
They're creating danger zones, but forgiveness creates peace and safety. And it's a giving forth. It's not like I'm the great spiritual kahuna and I'm so good that I could condescend to let this go. That's not forgiveness. When you get to forgiveness, you realize there's nothing to forgive. It was a misunderstanding, like you with your papa. Ciao, papa.
Thank you so much, Chuck. This was
You're welcome.
spectacular for everybody. Thank you. Love you.
And happy birthday. Big
Thank
hug.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ah, lots of flowers.
Thank you, Chuck.
You're
Bye
welcome.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.